Hi, I got a left field beer to drink today. Something that looks kind of like it's iced tea. It is the Wittekerke Wild, coming in one of these great giant half-liter 16.9 ounce cans from Europe. And I love when the Europeans always put beer in cans because it's always like really cheap and in these gigantic cans. So the deal with this beer is that it's, I guess, Wittekerke, the regular Wittekerke beer, which is a Belgian witbier, wheat beer with spices, with a orange peel and coriander. And then it says on there, with natural flora from oak foeders. So the brewery that makes this, the big one, is called De Brabander, or Baviek Brewery in Belgium, and they have a whole bunch of different brands. And under their Petrus label, they make more complex Belgian-style beers, including some sour ones. So the Petrus Aged Pale is their spontaneously fermented, somewhat traditional, almost lambic style beer, really sour, complex beer. And what I believe they did was they somehow cultured the yeast and bacteria from their aged pale foeders, the giant oak barrels, oak vats, I guess more like, that they ferment that beer in. So they took that and then they somehow involved that in the brewing process of their wheat beer. It's 5% alcohol, which is the same alcohol content as their wheat beer, but it's not like they just brewed their wheat beer and then threw in some of this yeast and bacteria, because that would probably change the beer quite a bit and make it higher alcohol. So I don't know exactly what they do. They just say harvested and unleashed. Pretty ridiculous words they use. I looked online and more on the wrapper of the 4-pack. It described the process sort of, but not exactly. But apparently it's a pretty good beer. Reviews are just under 4 on tap, like 3.9. And people have been saying it's pretty sour. And a little bit of sourness in a Belgian white is usually pretty darn good. And I think this is somewhat fresh. The best by date is June 29th, 2018. So I have a feeling that it's 2 years after. So then this is like a month and a half old, which isn't too... Ooh, it's not quite foaming up. It's got some bubbles. So yeah, I'm betting they tried not to have any live yeast in here. Yeah, but I'm thinking this is probably about a month and a half old. So it got over here from Belgium pretty quickly. And I'm using this glass because I thought it was a little bit more appropriate for this style of beer. And yep, it looks like a Belgian white. Really pale. Good amount of haze. You can't quite see through it on camera, but yeah, you can see there's clear shadow coming through, but nice. And yeah, a nice perfect haze, no chunks or anything. It's not overly carbonated, but I imagine after 2 years... Oh no, it's got a pretty good carbonation. After 2 years, Brettanomyces probably might come out, start doing something more funky and fermenting more, but I'm getting it nice and fresh. Oh yeah. It's definitely got all that really citrusy, like the orange peel, it comes out really strong in the aroma. It's lemony, it's got a little bit of grapefruit in there, but tart, fresh orange is what I'm getting the most of. The coriander is definitely in there, but it's not as much in your face as like Allagash white. That's great. A great white ale, Belgian white, but it's really coriandery. This one's really on the soft citrus end, though I think I smell a little bit of tartness in there. It's gonna get quite sharp, I assume, on the tongue. But the head's really nice. It looks like a pretty classic Belgian wheat beer. It's very nice looking. They did a good job with this. And this brewery's they kind of make beers for everyone, and also really good complex sour beers too. And also really sweet sour beers. So this one I was kind of like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be something where they're clearly trying to appeal to normal everyday Belgian beer drinkers, but Americans are going to drink this and see it probably as something very different and more complex and worthy of lots of thought. That's what I'm obviously doing here. Oh yeah, firm tartness, but it fades quickly. Not quite puckering. I notice a lot more coriander in the flavor. It's a lot more spicy. Really refreshing. Not crazy dry. There's a good amount of sweetness in there to deal with all that tartness and give it some body. But I think there is some Brettanomyces character. I was worried that this was just going to be kind of like a lactic wheat beer, but there is definitely some funkiness going on in this beer, which I really enjoy. It's a kind of a rare thing to find a Belgian white style ale that has some wild yeast presence in there. But yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the Timmermans Blanche Lambucus, which is somehow they made a lambic beer hybrid with a Belgian white beer. That one was very good. I mean, of course, more complex. Same with the Jolly Pumpkin. What is that beer called? The BAM. Can't remember what it's called right now. It's Calabaza Blanca, I think, is the name of their beer. That's of course fermented with some wild yeast and bacteria in oak barrels, like all their beers. This one's like both of those, but of course there's no oak character actually in this. This never spent time in oak foeders. It's just the culture of yeast and bacteria that they took from the living in the oak barrels and fermenting their wild sours and used it somehow in the fermentation, and it worked out really well. Yep, some good carbonation. It'll make you burp. But it's really nice now with all the citrus qualities, and the spices are fresh and coming out nicely. It is a little bit sweet. Yeah, aging in cans is a weird thing, but this is one that I'm kind of tempted to see what it would be like in 6 months. Though it is really refreshing and like a really great summer beer for someone who wants something that's citrusy and tart and got some nice complexity into it, but is really easy to drink. It's got some sweetness. But I think there is a little bit of, not quite barnyard Brettanomyces character, but that sort of wild, almost like rustic cheese, like brie rind sort of thing. It's hard for me to explain it. Because it's not like smelling cheese. It's not like quite old sock aroma like I sometimes get from Brettanomyces. There's a musty quality to it, I guess I would say, but it's a fresh musty quality. It has, I mean, it seems a little bit like maybe you just mix some Guza with some wheat beer, but of course it's lacking in the Guza complexity. It doesn't have. You can tell that they did some sort of quick fermentation with the bugs in here, so it's not that really deep, complex acidity that has acetic acid and along with lactic acid in here. I think it's mostly a lactic character with like a really really light Brett funk, but it works out really well. I'm enjoying it. Yeah. Yeah, this is one that I think most people could like. It's very lemonade. It has a big lemonade, kind of a lemonade with a little bit of orange and grapefruit juice mixed in there. That's a big quality I'm getting from it. But I wish they would make this year round. I bet it's gonna be a one-off thing. Maybe we'll see it every once in a while. But with everyone in America giving it really good ratings, maybe there'll be the demand and they'll keep doing it. Because Petrus does some weird things that a lot of other Belgian breweries don't do. Don't always work out, but this one works out pretty well. It doesn't have that much complexity to it, but I really like that it has just a tinge of funkiness. But in the end, it really is just kind of like a cross between a Berliner Weisse and a Belgian white. But the fact that it's really reasonably priced in 4-pack cans makes me very happy, and I'm very amused by this ridiculous design here. I guess you can sort of see the wild part is disintegrating and you can't really tell, but there's like, I think that's supposed to be the oak vat, those lines there in the bottom. It's like the wild yeast things are coming up and turning the Wittekerke wild. I'm not sure how to say that. I used to say Wittekerke, which is very German, but it's like Dutch or Flemish or something, which I don't really know the pronunciation. But I'd probably give this beer like an 80. It's pretty good, but it doesn't step over into the new world of complexity. But there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe it's just a tad sweeter. I guess that's what I would say. A tad sweeter than I would like. But hey, maybe I can age it a little bit, and the Brett will eat a little bit of that. Though I'm pretty sure that they probably pasteurize this. But Brettanomyces has been known to come up after pasteurization. So 80 for Wittekerke Wild.